श्रीभगवानुवाच अशोच्यानन्वशोचस्त्वम् प्रज्ञावादांश्च भाषसे गतासून गतासूंश्च नानुशोचन्ति पंडिताः. This shloka itself will determine as to why humans are advised to follow the path of divine. Why? This is a very big question. What's wrong is always there at the back of our mind. What's wrong? Little bit here, there. What's so great about being righteous? In this world, nothing is absolutely right or wrong. So, why should we study the scriptures? Why we need the guidance from the Guru? These are very commonly asked questions. In fact, therefore, not many people would like to tread the path also. No. We are fine. We are not aspiring for liberation. So, why go for all these things? So, one thing one must learn from the scriptures, and nowhere else can we get this information, I should say, that there is this consciousness which is absolute and eternal. From where shall we get this idea? Because no objective science is talking about the substratum, the changeless, absolute reality. And because of which, in spite of being educated, the human beings fail to accept the fact that the changing world around has got a changeless reality behind it. Since we have not learnt this in our academic education, therefore, it's not very easy to convince ourselves about this. And it seems as though it is the path of religion. So, I must mention over here that it's not the path of religion. It is a matter of understanding. And there is a logic behind it. So we can say that it is a part of science and not religion. Now, how to get to that reality and what are the practices that can take me to the reality? These practices might fall under the heading of religion. But definitely the definition and the explanation of that reality cannot fall under the heading of religion. It is a matter of science. Why? Because it has got logic behind it. It is rational. So we will have to go through this chapter, which is called Sankhya Yoga, the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where sequely Bhagavan is going to put logic behind what he is speaking. And he begins with this. He says, Ashocyananvashochastvam. You are aggrieved by that for which you need not grieve. There is no reason for you to feel sorry about it. At the same time, prajñāvādaṁśca bhāṣase. At the same time, you speak wisdom. So, seemingly what you are talking sounds logical, but basically you are getting sad for those things for which you need not be sad. Why? Gatasuna gatashunṣca na anushochanti pandita. for those who have gone or for those who will be going. That is, for those who have already died and for those who are going to die. Na anushocanti panditaha. The wise grieve not. The wise grieve neither for the living nor for the dead. Very difficult for every human being to accept this. Why? Because the greatest sorrow is about this only. For the people who are living, we are always worried. Suppose if something goes wrong and he dies. And people are half the time grieving for those who are already dead, who have gone past. And then yes, we hold also such meetings to share our sorrow. So, how can we accept this? This is what is the matter of logic, where Bhagavan is going to explain. You have grieved for those that should not be grieved for. Bhagavan is not hinting that, oh, your cousins have been cheating you, so even if they die, why should you grieve? This is selfishness. The divine cannot motivate us towards this kind of attitude. When he is speaking about not to grieve for Kauravas to Arjuna, he is not indicating that Arjuna, don't bother. They have tortured you enough. So even if you kill them, be happy. No, that's not the question. The question is to identify whether with the real or whether with the unreal. So he is going to give the full explanation about why one should not grieve for experiences of change in life. Unfortunately, we are only bothered about the change in life, which is absolutely inevitable. From childhood, we grew up to become youth. From there, we grew up, maybe already, to an old age, or we will be growing up to the old age. So, what's there to grieve? But yes, there are people who very strongly identify with the body, and therefore they really get extremely aggrieved by the deterioration of their own physical body. They cannot bear the wrinkles on their face. They cannot bear the hair falling off the head. They cannot bear the breaking of their posture. They are unable to hold themselves straight. So that old gentleman, if you ask him, please take a stick, now you need one. So he would refuse. This is extreme identification with the body. So even if somebody talks about it, so the person immediately says, no, I'm young. And he enacts as though he is really young. But that's not going to change the fact that the body has aged. Now the body has aged. So who has observed the changes? I, the holder of this body, even as a child, was the same I who is holding this old body. The body has grown old and the mind intellect have gone through many changes. In fact, constantly the mind is going through change. Every cell of the body is constantly changing. The intellect is constantly growing, hopefully. I hope there's no stagnation. And yet, we are so much worried about the change. That's one change which is not acceptable to you and me is the death. So, absence of physical body is not termination of the soul, has to be understood only from subjective science. Because it is a matter of experience where no equipment can help to assess as to what happened to the soul after departing from this body. So, if sufficient research is not done on this subject matter, then it's very difficult to accept it. So, somebody said, no, if I happen to speak to somebody who has experienced that, then I will believe. Somebody said that. So, there came a man who said, my God, what an experience. So, this one said, what happened? I almost touched death and came back. God alone saved me, he said, okay. So he said, oh really, what happened? So some very severe illness, and he came out of it. So he said, it was, almost death. So whether he died or whether it was death-like experience is his own. For somebody, in a minute it can be such an experience. I almost died. I didn't know where you are. I almost died. By the time he just came back, it was just a matter of a few hours. He was not even ill. So, this extreme expression could be a different experience altogether. So, what happens to the soul after departing from this body? Whether there is a soul which departs from the body itself is a matter of question mark for most of the human beings, because it is somewhat like this, that human beings believe in charvak. What is that? An atheist's philosophy. We are here, we have come from nowhere by fluke, we are here, we are surviving somehow, and one fine day we will die. So why bother? Torture somebody, snatch somebody else's and enjoy life. There is nothing to repent. It is the survival of the fittest. So this is my theory of surviving. So this is how I live. But that's not the fact. We have a past. We have several aeons, maybe. The soul has crossed through many lives before coming to this life and is going to have many more lives. This is the philosophy of Vedanta, where the past and the future of many souls have been mentioned by the gurus who have established the philosophy of Vedanta, and a few more such philosophies in the world who believe in reincarnation, rebirth, where the philosophy will say that the journey of the soul continues after death. If it is so, then there has to be a changeless factor which goes through these changes either in one lifetime or through several lifetimes, but the changeless remains intact. So Bhagavan is indicating in the first shloka itself that pay attention to that reality which is the substratum behind the whole scene of change around you. Now you are seeing this battlefield. Here you see Bhishma Pitamaha, Dronacharya and the rest of your kith and kin. But remember, all these forms and names are ever changing. You need not grieve for those who are living or for those who are dead. Now, here itself one has to decide. This logic that there is a reality which is the substratum and the world is superimposed on that reality which is ever changing, whether it is acceptable to me or not. If it is acceptable to me, then Bhagavad Gita advice will be perfect for me. Now, how to live in the world of change by holding on to the changeless is the challenge, right? Because my understanding will say that there is this changeless eternal reality and my experiences will always pull me towards the world of change. Every moment I'll go through the world of change. In spite of the changeless being myself, I will not be able to identify with the changeless I, and I'll always identify with the changing I constantly. This will be the challenge for me. So, if I'm not ready to take this challenge, then I can be a devotee of God and then have a nice life of ups and downs. At times I will surrender, at times I will not surrender. This I-ness will remain, and etc., etc. It will be a common man's life. It could have been Arjuna's life as well if he would not have listened to Sri Krishna's advice. So am I ready for that? There is a changeless reality. Finding that changeless reality and holding on to that in spite of experiencing the change is what Bhagavan is going to explain. In this kind of decision, will I be fulfilling my duties towards the changing world or not? In fact, in this dialogue between Arjuna and Sri Krishna, Bhagavan Sri Krishna is also going to guide Arjuna as to how efficiently one can perform the duties as well, in spite of knowing the fact that the world is relatively real and not absolute. One can yet, in fact, one will be able to perform duties more efficiently. So, we are entering the zone of reality, which we would not have ever thought about without the guidance from the scriptures. Why those who have departed do not deserve to be grieved by those who are left behind? Are they eternal therefore, or because they deserve no grief because of their behavior and attitude? Usually we are self-centered. So for some, we are unhappy when they die, and for some, we are not so unhappy. Sometimes we pretend, but within we think, thank God. Now I will have a nice life. This is a very selfish way of thinking, and it's not the right way. So that's not what Bhagavan is going to tell. So, because each one standing in front is eternal, therefore I need not grieve. What is eternal in them is the same eternal in Arjuna as well. This thought removes duality as well. It brings the attitude of oneness.